Hello, everyone, and thank you guys for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, I am here. I am your host, Karen Oliver, and all of my podcast followers, thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Driven Life Show. We are live, and I have a special guest with me, Nichole Harrop. Nichole, am I saying your last name correct?
That's okay. It's Harrop. Yep.
Harrop, Nichole Harrop. I am so honored to meet her, you guys. And we connected on our Facebook business pages. And, she's a coach. I'm a coach. And so I'm just so excited for you guys to meet her. And I'm honored to have you, Nichole. Thanks so much for taking time out. Nichole is a women's leadership development coach. She's a career coach. She's a mom. She wears
Mhm.
many hats. I had the honor to check your website out. I love your website. I love
Thank you.
everything that you're doing for the community. So I'm so happy to have you. And you guys, we're going to get started. The name of the topic of this episode is going to be leaping into our authentic self. And so Nichole is going to talk to us about, how to be bold, how to show up in the workplace, some things that we run into. And so now we're going to just go ahead and kick it off and get started. So Nichole, can you just elaborate and tell us a little bit about how you serve your clients?
Of course. Of course. Yeah. And again, thank you so much for having me today. So I focus with my clients mostly with women in the workforce who want to get promoted at work. And I focus on confidence, self awareness, communication, growth mindset, and networking. Those are the 5 pillars that I really base all of my content around with my clients, as well as my own podcast that I host called Next Level Leaders. And yeah, it's been so great. I work with my clients on whatever they need. A lot of the times they're coming to me and they may have ran into some issues with their boss. Maybe they are interviewing, looking for other work at the time and wanting to work through that because they haven't sat on the other end of the interview and aren't sure
Yeah.
how to navigate it all. So I give that guidance, and it really is based on their needs in that moment. So I don't sell any sort of like specific packages. It really is as needed for what my clients need in that moment, because in the workforce, when you need help, you need help. And so
Yeah.
often I feel like people don't know that there's help out there. So I hope more people are tuning into podcasts like yours and mine and
Yes.
really seeing all of this free content that they can get, and then figuring out, okay, if I need more help, who can I then turn to? And that is where I help women in the workplace.
That is awesome, Nichole. And I'm glad that you said that because, all of us, we need some type of outlet or avenue to go to. And like you said, as coaches, if they don't have the resources, it's like, okay, I need someone to come to. So I'm glad that you said that. And so
Mhm.
what does authenticity means to you? What does it mean to you in regard to the workplace?
Yeah. I mean, really, if the word itself means genuine, and it's overused so often, show up as your authentic self, or I'm trying to be authentic. What does that really mean? Because it has such a basic definition of being genuine. So for me in the workplace, I tell my clients and I work with my clients on really focusing on how do you like try on different things? What
Mhm.
is going to help you feel most like yourself and most happy in the workplace? So we'll do things like personality test. Maybe it's the Enneagram, maybe it's Myers Briggs or Strengths Finder, and trying on all of those different kind of titles that come back to you. Maybe it's your strong suit is communication. Is that really true for you? And then kind of narrowing that down to what feels, again, authentic to them, what feels genuine to you in your career. Because so often we're taking on so much from the outside of what we think is going to be helpful for us without really saying, what do I want? What feels authentic, genuine to me? And how can I move forward with that? And it's always going to show best. You're going to show up as your best self when you are thinking and trying on different ways and figuring out what is best for you.
That's awesome. So how does a person like me and yourself and everybody else out there in the community, how do we show up in the interview process as our real authentic self?
Yeah, it's such a great question because you think of joining a workforce, like when do you show who you really are? Because a lot of the times we're scared to show who we are in the interview process. We're scared to share what our weaknesses are or to be judged, because really being authentic or being genuine allows for judgment. If you're vulnerable, that allows for someone to judge you. Maybe before they fully get to know you. So, in the interview process, a lot of the times I encourage my clients, of course, getting that practice. We do mock interview sessions, which I think everyone needs in their life at some point. But
Yes.
it's helpful, yeah, it's helpful to first of all prepare so that when you have questions come up, you're not your biggest argument comes to our mind first, and that may not be the best way to proceed forward, but that
Yeah.
preparation will help you feel more confident. And when you're confident, you can feel like, okay, I can share things that I'm not so great at in this process, and I can show what areas I really shine in. And through that interview process, I want you to know that it's a two-way street. And if you're not feeling good in the process, something's feeling off in your gut.
Yeah.
Maybe they made you feel a certain type of way. Maybe they followed up with questions or whatever that is that made you feel less than who you know you are. That's a sign as well. Like you're in this process, and I know when we need a job, you want to get hired as soon as possible, and I get that. But I also want people to recognize I need to make sure this is a good fit for me, and
Right.
coming up with some questions for the end of their interview as well, so that they know, hey, if I work here, what does feedback look like? How
Hmm.
am I going to know that I'm heading in the right direction? What does that look like, so that you can get a good idea of their workplace culture, other than the ping pong tables, free lunch, or whatever that looks like on paper. You want
Yeah.
to know, like, how do you treat your employees? Do you allow for that growth? And that can kind of help you come to the whole process a little bit more authentic to you, knowing, okay, this is what I want. I want to work for this company. It's also my opportunity to recognize if I want to work for them, and be
Yes.
aware of those flags in the process that can come up.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, Nichole, because preparation is the key, is so important because, like you said, as human beings on earth, we say the first thing that comes to our mind. And I do believe that we need to research and we need to find out, okay, is this company a fit for me? We
Yes.
know that different people, we have different personalities, so it's always going to be challenges in the workplace, right? But
Yes.
is it my career purpose? Is it my path? Is it my passion? And I don't think sometimes we don't think down the road or prepare or research. I've been guilty of that in my past,
Yeah.
not researching. And then when I got there, I'm like, this is really
Yes.
not for me. So I'm glad that you said that. And how do we prepare ourselves for in preparation for training? How can we be authentic even in the training process?
Yeah, so that's the next step, right? Is once you get hired to a company that you know is a right fit for you, because really having that self-awareness in the interview process is recognizing, okay, is this the right step for me? What can I do to find other opportunities that might be a better fit for me? And really making sure that that is the next right step for you. Because once you join a company and then you're not happy and then you're not a good employee, like it can be a big ripple effect in your career. So once you get the actual training, you've gotten the job, you started your training, then what happens is, what, how do you show up in the workplace? And
Right.
again, that's where we start instantly having perceptions of what we think is the right way to act or the right way to do a certain thing. And it's hard to snap out of that if you're not consciously aware of yourself and how you're coming across to other people. So I would recommend to always have a self check. Maybe that's once a day when you're on your commute into work, or if you're working from home as you're logging in or getting ready for work, whatever that looks like, thinking, how can I show up and be genuine? How can I be vulnerable? How can I be authentic within this process? And that is knowing that it's okay to ask questions. It is knowing that it's okay to be out of your comfort zone. I pride myself on being extremely knowledgeable in any company that I join. But during that training process, I'm extremely out of my comfort zone because I don't know everything. And I'm in
Right.
that phase of I don't know what I don't know. So I don't even know what questions I'm trying to think of asking. So it's definitely a little bit out of your comfort zone. And that's sometimes when we can revert to old ways that didn't serve us well. So allowing yourself to be in that space of discomfort and recognizing that it will come, like you will get that information, you will have that confidence, and not being afraid to ask the questions, not being afraid to start reaching out and making friendships with other people in the workplace and ask them questions. I've always found it helpful to be like, are you also pretty lost in this? And they're like, yeah, me too. And that way you can kind of like gauge if you're completely lost or if other people are on the same page as you. And that keeps you genuine in that process of that vulnerability, asking questions and not being afraid to ask for additional help if you really do need it.
Yes, yes, and I definitely agree too, Nichole, with you. Like we all don't know everything, right? And
Yeah.
even though we may have a lot of experience in our fields or whatever, it's like that's the right time to ask for help. Or like you said, you have others they don't know it
Mhm.
all either, so you engage yourself and you team up with people, and you're like, okay, I don't know this, you don't know this. Let's work this out together. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you did say that. Even in the workplace, we have situations where there are issues or even harassment that has went on or things
Yeah.
that went on. If you don't feel safe in the workplace, can you be your authentic self?
Yeah, that's a good question because when you feel attacked, we instantly put a wall up, we put a shield up. It's a defense mechanism to kind of revert back and to retreat. So it can be hard to feel like you can speak your mind. Let's say you're someone who likes to speak your mind in meetings, and your boss maybe said something in a meeting that made you feel unsafe in the sense that they called you out on something and it was somewhat derogatory.
Yeah.
That can really hurt, and you can feel unsafe in that situation. Especially with if it's something harassment related or whatever it is. Of course, always finding that safe space of a person. Maybe it's your direct leader, maybe it's another leader. Building those connections throughout your career is so important for situations like this. I went through it myself, specifically in regards to harassment, sexual harassment from a previous boss who wasn't my direct leader, but I had other people to be able to reach out to. And that was something that helped provide me some of that peace of mind that I had other people to reach out to. But in regards to just not feeling safe at work in the sense of not being able to show up as your authentic self, like let's say you feel like most of your coworkers are men and they all like to talk about sports and you're not really like that. And so you started watching sports or you started trying to follow certain accounts on Instagram or certain news stations to keep up. That's not authentic for you.
Right.
And I've been there and done that, trust me. So I speak from experience, but what you want to do is figure out ways where you can find those connections that are authentic and real versus something that is certainly not real. You can still have interest and ask questions around things that people are interested in, and that
Hmm.
helps build those connections. But yeah, definitely finding a way to connect with people in a different way is helpful within your career. And I always encourage people to, if you're not in the sense of, I'm worried about judgment, I'm worried about maybe someone making fun of me because I am a little bit more quirky.
Yeah.
I recommend when you're building those connections to test it out and
Yeah.
be who you are, where you're comfortable. I've my heart goes out to people who feel like they can't really be who they feel they are on the inside. That just tugs at my heartstrings, that there are so many people out there walking around
Yeah.
that feel like they can't be their authentic self because they won't be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So finding other ways to connect in advance, that way when you do start to show up more as who you are, maybe that's making funny jokes or whatever
Yeah.
it may be, then you have already built that connection with them to kind of test those waters and figure out where you're accepted. And if that's not in your current workplace, maybe it's time to figure out, start having conversations with people on LinkedIn or other people who are in your friend network. Say, where do you work? Do you feel like you can show up as you, as your whole self, and that people
Yes.
accept you? Because like life's too short not to feel accepted where you work, because so we work so many hours a week.
Yes.
And so it's worth figuring out somewhere where you do fit in, and you certainly will find that somewhere.
That's a very, very important, good point that you just made, Nichole, because when you were talking about acceptance, it even stopped and made me think, do you think that that is a problem with some of us today? Even when we're in the field and we're in our career path,
Mhm.
we're trying to focus on so much of what somebody else is going to think, or they're going to worry about if I like the same things that they like.
Yeah.
But like you said, the thing about it is showing up as your authentic self, being you, being bold,
Mhm.
just relax and be yourself. And like you said, find other ways to connect or whatever. If you don't
Yes.
watch sports, you just don't watch sports. Let's find some other ways. So I
Yeah.
think sometimes we focus too much on, is I'm going to be accepted? Is I'm going to be like here? Even
Mhm.
for us as coaches, we're talking to clients day to day. There may be some characteristics and stuff that we just may not can't relate to at that point, but there are
Exactly.
some things that we can relate to our clients about. There are going to be some conversations that we're going to have that you're going to be like, well, I mean, what do I do? But you just put
Yes.
yourself in their shoes. And I think, sometimes we just have to stop. I guess I want to say
Yeah.
overthinking it, and just like you said, just being us and being you. So, my other question for you is, do
Sure.
you feel that if when we get to a point where, for example, when we get to a point, I can just use myself for an example.
Sure.
Say I'm in a place where I'm comfortable in the workplace, showing up as my authentic self. I've
Mhm.
realized who I am and I'm being bold. Will I be able to teach others, even on my team, how to be their authentic self if they're going through some things that, others have went through, like myself?
Yeah, definitely. So you hit it so well, Karen, of saying we're so worried about what other people think of us. And often this is a huge struggle in the workplace, especially for women, because we're thinking, okay, how does my boss want me to act?
Mhm.
And that's how I'm going to act. Or how does this person want me to act? And that's how I'm going to act. And then you get mixed messages from different leaders because they're saying, oh, well, when I've worked with Nichole, I've seen this side come out. And they're like, well, that's interesting because when I work with her, I see these different strengths, and that is not in alignment. So that creates confusion. We want to make things easy for our leaders to see our strengths. And for
Yes.
us, again, it comes down to that awareness for ourselves. And that comes with for me, it was time working in all these different positions over the past 15 years. But
Yes.
that's what I hope to provide more to my clients, my the people who tune into my podcast, is learning and growing. I hope to give more of that so that people in their early 20s can learn what I didn't learn until closer to my late 20s.
Yeah.
uh, and that is just understanding what type of person you are, and how do you like to receive feedback, how do you like to communicate, all these different things. And then you're communicating that also with the people you work with, and figuring out a good kind of ebb and flow with that. So as far as the aspect of showing up as your authentic self and helping others do the same, that is where you're kind of getting to that next level. So if you feel like you're not showing up as your authentic self, and that you are working on certain things, maybe you're taking notes through this episode,
Yes.
certainly go back, put that into action. And then honestly, save this, set a reminder in your phone, whatever that is, to come back and listen to this, because this next step I feel like is more for when you feel like, okay, I feel pretty good about where I am. I feel confident in who I am. And now I'm ready to help empower others to do the same. You certainly can do this as well while you're in it, working through it, because if you're talking to people, it might help you do this as like a group thing and say, hey, let me talk to all my, a couple of my close coworkers. We all have a couple people in our close group of saying, do you feel like you're showing up authentic? Like, let's talk about a couple of things, because that, again, it's such a general term that it's like when someone says, hey, how's it going? And you've had a really awful day. You're like, it's great. But getting deeper into it, let's talk about what that really is. Let's talk about how we give feedback, how we receive it. How do we ask for what we want? Like all those things that come in the workplace that are so important are really centered around how you're showing up as your genuine, most authentic self. And when you feel like you're at a point, you can start recognizing when other people are kind of being chameleons, in the sense of like they're trying to fit in by saying, oh yeah, I totally caught that game, and they didn't. Or they're trying to maybe talk about a TV show or something that happened that they really probably didn't tune into, or maybe they saw like read cliff notes about like a book or something. So they're trying to fit in, and you're recognizing that, because most of us have been there. I certainly have myself. I've tried to fit in several times. I still do today. But feeling okay to recognize that and say, hey, I noticed in our meeting today that you had commented on this, and I want to let you know, if you haven't looked into that further or researched that book or whatever it may be, I want you to know it's okay. I still think you're great. And starting to give people that permission that showing up as who they are is enough, and that you want more of that to come out. And part of that too is welcoming those things to come out in the workplace. We talk about, in some of my team meetings, we talk about, tell me about what makes a perfect pizza. And we get in debates over like thin crust or thick crust or stuffed crust, and having people, again, build those connections to create a safer environment in this space of feeling like you can share your opinion. For me, I am very blunt. And that takes time for me to build relationships before I can give feedback that doesn't come off as me being like a B word. It's so easy to label that because I am confident and I will speak my mind, but I do it respectfully. But when people aren't ready for that and they don't know who I am, and that I do care so much about everyone that I work with, and I want everyone to be doing well and be successful, but I will speak my mind in a team meeting. And it takes time for me to build those relationships for it to be accepted as, okay, I know she's not being threatening by saying these things. She's not being overly assertive. She is clearly speaking her mind and leaving out all of the fluff.
Yeah, that's good too, Nichole, because I think sometimes some people kind of don't know how to take a person when they're very direct. I would say very direct, and like you said, blunt. And that's because you're more open, you're more outgoing. And where somebody else may be kind of like shy, I want to hide behind, I want to stay in the back seat, I want to stay on the back row. So it's like when you're having a meeting or you're having a presentation and someone calls you up, you're sitting in the back like, oh, you're hiding. I don't want to do it. But as far as you or me or somebody else, I haven't always been like that. I've always been outspoken and talker. But when it comes to presentations, like, oh, I got to do a presentation. It's like, why not? Because you're open, like you say, you're blunt, you're direct, you're outspoken. So show up as you would do anywhere else. So I think these are very good tips and very good points. And I hope you guys who are viewing and who will come and watch the replay, I hope that, like Nichole said, that you would lock this somewhere, save this video, this interview somewhere. And also, you guys, I do have Nichole's information pinned to the description, so you guys can go in. You can, if you want to have a consultation, email her, visit her website. And
Mhm.
Nichole, if you can leave your Instagram handle, because I don't want to get it wrong.
That's okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's at Nichole, so Nichole.Harrop, Nichole.Harrop.
yes, it's great tips, you guys. I'm trying to tell you because the last couple of weeks I've been researching, her site, and she has great testimonies, great feedback out there how she's been helping women, and I'm just so excited to be able to connect with her because we are an advocate for the women. So I'm definitely honored to still have you here. And Nichole, is there any other advice that you would like to give the viewers today?
Oh gosh, I think it is just an ongoing journey, especially with authenticity. I mean, as women, I think the best example is simply the media telling us how we should look, how like what kind of things we should be doing for fashion or how skinny or whatever we should look like. So we're constantly getting all of these things of told how we should be. Influencers, you think of those, and I love some so dearly, but there are certainly some that can be not a great example, I guess I would say, of
Yeah.
that authenticity of telling you, oh, you have to do this, or you are a terrible person, or you have to have this certain product. So I want you to think of throughout your day of like, take an intake of what you do throughout your day, what brings you happiness throughout your day, especially if it's on social media. Go unfollow people, accounts, whatever it is that are not bringing you happiness,
Yeah.
because you're not going to find your authentic self if you are chasing after or letting other accounts help have you feel less than yourself. So if you're not feeling uplifted by the content that you're reading, certainly push it to the side. I'm all about like reality TV and doses. I think that's all light and fun. But yeah, just being more aware in general, and thinking of ways that you can feel and show up more authentic in the workplace, and get that buy-in from other leaders so that you can be on your way to leadership positions or growth into other departments, and what that might look like, because you are worth it. If
Yes.
you're a female in the workplace, please always go after those positions. Even if you feel like you're not qualified, still apply for them, still go after them. Don't tell yourself no, let them tell you no, and never let that no affect your self-worth.
I love it. I love it. I thank you so much, Nichole, for
Yeah.
the closeout, for the tips. You definitely helped me out a lot. I know you've helped a lot of people out there. So you guys, you make sure you go follow Nichole, and you make sure you check out the content. This is important. This is something that we definitely need, even in this day and time. Well, we've been needing it. We just now finding out what we need to do, like even now. So thank you so much, Nichole, for taking the time out, joining me,
Of
coming on the
course.
podcast. I know you're busy, and you guys also. One last thing, don't forget to go check out Nichole's podcast. Can you say that podcast
Yeah,
name again?
of
I'm
course.
gonna, I'm gonna follow myself.
Thank you. Yeah, it's called Next Level Leaders. It's available, I believe, most places that you tune in. So yeah, definitely go check it out.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Nichole. I hope
Yeah,
you
thank you so
have a
much.
great night, and we'll connect and talk soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
Take
Thank you.
care. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.